mean, they just don't take any action at all?
No, no, only twice in our history, I think. And we need to find out what the second one is. I need to be able to tell audiences that. You know what the second one was? No.
See, she couldn't pass it.
I mean, the one I have in mind is the illegal aliens. That's the one that's top of the thing now. And with the conversations I'm hearing over the TV, he's losing the student votes. He's liable to declare that they don't have to pay back their loans.
Yep. Newt Gingrich in the debate in the primary, he was talking about a family where the mother was in the PTA, the father was in the local chamber of commerce. They've been here for 25 years, and he was an illegal alien.
That's where Obama got the idea.
You're going to send him home?
What do you think the Indians thought?
No, there's a big continuum. There's a big continuum between the pot-smoking kid that's breaking the law and this guy that's been here for 25 years. This is a huge, huge problem. What do you do with 12? We don't have any idea how many are here, 12 to 20 million. But I think if you drill down, and most people's concerns is that 12 million illegal immigrants looking for work could just as well have been 12 million terrorists looking to kill us. And it's that darn easy to come across the border. And so every time I've had a chance to vote for troops on the border, and I'm familiar with posse comitatus, and they can't arrest, but they can hold the guy to the local sheriff, arrest them, and to build a wall on the border. The simplest thing, you know, they wouldn't come here if they couldn't get a job. But, you know, I know of one, many of them show up with what looks like a good Social Security. Now, they check with the IRS, is this a good Social Security? Yes, that's a good Social Security. The problem is that 14 of them have the same Social Security. Now, in the long run, that's a good thing for Social Security, isn't it? Because obviously 14 of them aren't going to retire on the same Social Security number. Probably none of them will. And they're putting money into Social Security, so, you know, so it's helping Social Security a bit. But it takes the IRS apparently 9 months or so to figure out that this guy and that Social Security number don't go together. And by that time, they come to the employer, you know, we're looking for this fellow. Well, I'm sorry, he just left. You know, they've learned, like the Old West, and one jumped ahead of the sheriff there. And Diana knows this, she sees it in the office. They just move on to the next employer, and they'll take the IRS another 9 months to figure out that they shouldn't be there.
Why does it take them that long?
You know, yeah, that's a very good question. But when FedEx can tell you moment by moment where every package is,
Yeah, that's the thing.
would wonder a little, wouldn't you?
And what would we do if they decided to strike? Who would we eat?
Oh, you mean if they didn't work?
If they decided not to work the fields, would we eat?
The answer is not very well. I know a family that has a truck garden and an orchard in Philadelphia, and they could not bring their produce to market without the immigrants. Now, theirs are legal, but without the immigrants. They used to have kids and seniors that would come out of Philadelphia to work. No more. Why would you work? Well, you can sit in front of a television and collect welfare or whatever. Why would you work? And they don't. You know, so that's true. They would, if we could wave a magic wand and these 12 to 20 million would all go home, there'd be some big holes in our system. Yeah.
We chose to come here tonight. We live in McCool, which is about 20 miles away.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm pleased to be here. But like I told my husband, here's my simple question. Does anybody care about my gasoline bill?
You know, the price of oil is not determined by ExxonMobil and Phillips. The price of oil is determined at a global auction of oil. And it's a very simple product of supply and demand. The more demand there is for a limited supply, the higher the cost of oil is. And you can put add about 60 cents a gallon for the taxes and refining and so forth, and you can get to what gasoline will cost you from what oil costs you. And there is, I hear the president saying this. I hear Romney saying it, that the oil companies are setting the price of oil. That just isn't true. The price of oil is set on a global market. Now, OPEC can do a little something. although I think they're pumping as fast as they can pump today. But when they could pump more oil, they could reduce the price of oil by increasing the supply of oil. The only thing today that's going to reduce the price of your gasoline is to use less of it. The demand will be down, the price will fall, because I don't think that we can increase anytime soon in any meaningful way the production of oil. And there's a lot of misconception about this. The price of oil is going to drop in our country because we're going to be pumping the Bakken oil. That's not going to make any difference in the global cost of oil. Oil is oil. And we don't care who owns it. The Chinese really care who owns it. They're buying oil all over the world. We were using, now a little bit less, we were using 1/4 of the world's oil, and we're not buying oil anywhere. And I asked the State Department, we use 1/4 of the world's oil, and we're not buying it anywhere. And China uses far less, and they're buying oil everywhere. How come they're buying oil? And their answer was, we don't think they understand the marketplace. I think at that time China was growing at 14%. I kind of think they understand the marketplace. I hope I'm wrong. Frequently I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But let me tell you what I think may happen. The Chinese have 900 million people in rural areas that through the miracle of communications know the benefits of an industrialized society. And I've been there, I've talked to, I don't know how we got there, but I spent about an hour and a quarter with Xi Jinping. He was the top guy in China. And he mentioned this, 900 million people in rural areas who through the miracle of communications know the benefits of an industrialized society. And they're saying, hey guys, what about us? And so China builds a coal-fired power plant every week, and they choke on the smoke. And I think the day will come, I hope I'm wrong, frequently hope I'm wrong, pray every night I'm wrong, so far I haven't been. I think the day will come and they're going to say, hey guys, I'm sorry, but it's our oil and we can't share it. And they are very aggressively building a blue water navy. And I don't know if you've read about it, the F-20 something or other. It's an anti-ship missile against which we have no defense. And if we can't be within 1,200 miles of anywhere that missile is, it's a ballistic missile. When it comes in, when it re-enters the atmosphere, it turns around, you can't look through a nose cone and say, oh, that's my target. And then it zigs and zags on its way into the target in an unpredictable path. And so far, we have no defense against that weapon. It is a true game changer. And you can see references to it in the articles that I'm talking about, are to the east, to Asia, and so forth. Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't see any other reason to buy the oil. It doesn't make any difference who owns the oil. The price of oil is determined by supply. And by the way, I'm a huge supporter of the Keystone Pipeline. They're going to build a pipeline anyway. They're either going to come down here or they're going to go across Canada and through the Rocky Mountains. I don't know how the devil you do that without environmental impact. They're going to ship that oil to China. I'd rather have it here. I'd rather have the jobs. I'd rather have the oil because if you can't ship, at least we have a bit more oil in our country, so from a national security perspective, it's a great idea. Will it change the price of oil? No. The price of oil is determined by global demand. It will not change the price of oil, but it will do two things. It will give us some jobs putting the pipeline in and refining the oil, and it'll be here. We won't have to import it in a crisis situation, so there's some big reasons for doing it. But it will not bring down the price of gasoline at the pump. Yeah, it's been inching up, hasn't it? It's going up temporarily. Now it'll come back down a little because we lost, 60% of some of the refining capacity in Louisiana. That'll be back online shortly. So there'll be exquisitely sensitive to supply and demand. It just goes up with a little bit of change in supply and demand. Prices change quite drastically. Now they do for corn too. It's $8.90 a bushel the last I saw. We are somewhat complicit in that with our corn. With our corn ethanol thing, that I don't think was the wisest decision we ever made. Other questions? You're running out of questions. We haven't run out of time yet. Our school teacher, the school teacher back here, on the left, one here. I taught for 20 years. I first taught, my first full-time teaching was, 64 years ago. I graduated from Washington Missionary College. I was 21 years old. I looked 17. I had a ministerial degree. I wanted to be a minister, but I wasn't married when I looked 17, and you don't have a bright immediate future in the ministry within 17 and not being married. So they encouraged me to occupy till I got older and got a wife, and I went out to the University of Maryland. I also, and I don't know how many of you have experienced that, I hope you do, but my life changed, and one person changed my life. His name was Freeman Quimby. He was a fantastic teacher, and I was going to be a medical missionary, and I had to take some courses in science so I could go to medical school. And I really liked his courses, and I took them all and a bunch of other courses, and when I graduated in 1957, 65 years ago, I had a major in biology and a minor in chemistry. I had a major in Bible and a minor in homiletics, so I kind of had 2 bachelor's degrees at one time. If it weren't for Freeman Quimby, I'd be a whole different person. But he was such a fantastic teacher. I hope that a lot of students here, I hope you found that kind of teacher in your life. Our youngest son, and we have a boy that's blue baby at birth. Fred is 50-some now and plays with 10-year-olds, and that's where he is in emotional development. So I can talk about this because we've been there. We sent to a special school, Rock Creek School. They spent 3 times as much educating him as the average kid. At the same time, we had Ross a little later, a few years later, and Ross was a real problem. He wouldn't pay any attention. He looked out the window. As soon as he came home, he ran out to the shop, and he was making monsters. Still has all his fingers, fortunately, but I saw him. He was making all these monster things. He would pay no attention. Every year, we talked to the teachers, shouldn't we hold Ross back? He's just doing awful. But we never held Ross back. And then he came to the 7th grade, and he had a science teacher in the 7th grade. And Ross really got turned on. He found out that if he studied just a little bit, he could make the best grades in the class. He now has a PhD from Carnegie Mellon. He is telecommuting to Oak Ridge. He has 5 kids. And you know, it's kind of emotional for me because I don't know how many Rosses we lost because he was just plain bored. And his teacher complained, Ross won't do the number line in adding and subtracting. His mother said, Ross, why won't you do the number line? He says, why should I when I already know the answer? He was just plain bored. And we are so focused. And I've got a severely autistic grandchild, so I can speak to these things. The average person I've got is our kid, 50 years old, Fred, and we've got Christian, who's severely autistic. We're spending 3 or 4 times as much educating these kids as the average kids. And when you have somebody like Ross, I don't know how many Rosses we lost to drugs and so forth, because they were just plain bored. And we've got to do something. We're in a huge technological race in the world. This year, the Chinese will graduate 7 times as many engineering students as we graduate. And half of our engineering students are Chinese students. And we just need more Rosses in the world. Now, I don't know how many of them we lost because we're spending so darn much money at the other end. Not that we shouldn't do that, but as Christ said, this lot you who have done enough to let the other undone. We just need to pay more attention to these kids at the top. How many have we lost? Because they're just plain bored. They're doing drugs and stuff. Now, Ross was so darn bored, he was racing motorcycles. Motocross. You seen motocross? He was wild. I mean, jumping. They jumped over a rambler. You put a ramp one side of the rambler, and they land the other side of the rambler. They can jump over a house. And I wonder how many of these kids we've lost and how much America is diminished because we haven't paid attention. We were lucky. It was one teacher. One teacher did it with Ross. Because one teacher changed my. He became, by the way, the chief scientist of the Library of Congress later on. Really, really fantastic teacher.
Sir,
yeah.
no one in this place would be anywhere if it weren't for teachers.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was very rewarding.
Right.
I taught. I went. My first teaching job was University of Maryland. I was 22 years old. The head of the department asked me to come and say, "Gee, what have I done now?" And he offered me not a graduate assistantship, but a full-time teaching job. I had 400 kids, 250 in anatomy and physiology, 150 in physiology of exercise. I was at Curly Bird, Big Mo, Little Mo, Lucian Gambino, any of you old enough to remember those names? That was when Maryland had the best football team in the whole darn country. You remember that? Yeah. I was teaching those kids back then at the University of Maryland. Well, I really enjoyed my hour and a half with you. Thank you all very, very much for coming out. Thank you for coming.
See you.
Yeah. What was it? Shell is going to reason. I thought for 2 makers more than 2. Shell is
See you. Bye now. Bye.
Thank you for coming. Well, it's an old teacher.
I'm lucky.
Good job.